They were fascinating presentations, and it was interesting to see both the similarities and differences between them. And obviously, one of the themes around inNOWvate is how it supports the development of both startups and scale-ups, which are important to both inNOWvate, and in order to work with those organizations, you may also need to collaborate. So you both work for large multinational organizations, and startups and scale-ups are perhaps at the opposite end of the size spectrum, but may have some of those game-changing digital technologies that could help you achieve those resilience and sustainability goals. From your experience, how can you and perhaps I'll start with you, David, work either with startups or scale-ups to actually use their ideas and their technologies to meet those resilience and sustainability goals?
Yeah, thank you for asking this question. It's not an easy one because I think we all look for innovation, and I think startups are really cool because they bring new things on the table and so on. What you need to have in mind when you are operating in big multinational like us is, of course, we want to bring new things on the table, but the immediate thing we want to have is to be able to scale this up. And so to partner with a multinational, and I don't want to scare the startups, that's not what I'm saying, but the second thing is your idea good? But the second thing we will look at is, can we scale this up very fast? And I think it's important that you have that in mind because we operate in different countries. I mean, Estée Lauder is a big multinational operating in many countries. Arla is maybe more European-centric, but we have factories all over the world as well. So we think that way. And sometimes it's easier to partner with scale-ups than startups for these reasons. Yeah. But on the other hand, we are super eager to capture the ideas and to make it work. So there are ways to partner with startups and accompany their growth. I have in mind when I started my supply chain job in Mars, there was a logistic company where it was the chosen partner to, when we had to develop one further country, we were going together. So we were growing together. But it required trust in the management and relationship. At the end, it's about of course, the idea, but it's about the people that create this partnership.
So can I just check that out? So when you were working, one of the ways to build that trust is to work with bring in the third party to help support.
Exactly, I don't know. There are lots of possibilities, but bear in mind when you are a startup, you work in an environment which is very agile, very quick. Probably the time of decision in a multinational is the time you don't have to survive sometimes, and that makes the connection difficult. So we need to find our way, and we need to be creative, which is not as easy as it sounds, actually.
And Jamal?
Yeah, just build in on, I don't know if you can get, just build in on David's very good points. Startups and scale-ups are actually the disruptors we need, because they have this beauty of, being nimble, flexible, fast to action. They don't have, I would say, the heaviness of big multi-international corporations, and therefore they are ideas developers, and that's something you need to keep in mind and continue to develop. The challenge comes on how do we move from a fantastic, brilliant idea into convincing a big corporation or a mid-sized corporation actually to take it. So obviously, if you're breaking the code on something that big corporations are struggling, to put in place, then it's a hit because those corporations will easily find ways to go beyond just the complexity of integrating a small, I would say, organization into a bigger one, particularly if you have to operate across multiple geographies. And if not, and David touched up on it, the integration piece can come from an external integrator. And this is definitely a venue that needs to be explored to accelerate your development. But that's the way I would look at it.
Yeah, I think they're really useful insights. I know from some of the research that we've been doing as part of our Interact project that a lot of the industrial digital technology providers, especially the smaller ones, they feel quite frustrated that they get into the sales funnel of the larger organizations, but then they don't convert that from a prospect into an actual sale. And so I think some of your...
I think if I can give you an advice, of course there is a commercial relationship, but you need to talk to the right people.
Yeah.
You need to do a kind of a decision mapping, and you need to look at who are the decision makers. And most of the time it's not, it's not the people you are talking to when you are in this situation.
I think that's really...
I mean, this is an interesting point. It all depends on the organizations, right? So from my experience across multiple geographies, if you are in a niche area, let's say you are developing a tool with AI and ML for planning, right? So your point of contact, your target should be, the global head of planning for that organization. That's the first thing. I can tell you, I guarantee you that that person will definitely be interested in at least hearing what you have to say. That's number one. The other opportunity for you to leverage in those organizations is the procurement team. Because again, I mean, procurement is more than just, cutting costs. Procurement is just more than negotiating, terms and conditions. Procurement is also or at least in our organization, an innovation, an idea provider to the organization. So do not hesitate to knock at the doors of, procurement leaders, because they will be there for you, and they will be there to bring new ideas, innovations into the organization.
So you've both touched upon resilience and sustainability as two very important parts of your organization's strategies and things that you need to achieve. To what extent do those things act in unison with each other, or are they in tension? And how do you perhaps use things like digital technologies as an enabler to push you forward in achieving your resilience and sustainability goals? Jamal?
I can start. When we look at, if I start from like 10,000 foot level,
top of the mountain.
Top of the mountain, Martin, you're gonna love this. So if I start from the top of the mountain, the big question is, do you have, and we talked about it yesterday, no one planned for COVID, right? No one has planned for COVID. And even if people did, what if scenario for a pandemic situation, not to the scale, we had to deal with. That's number one. Brexit, I think a lot of people plan for Brexit. Because Brexit, when you think about it, is just a regulation change that cut across, for us, for the industry.
Please don't mention the B word.
So I don't want to get into it. But when you look at Brexit, right now we're talking about, CSAR. The regulations are changing all the time around the world. So the resilience is, how do you build an engine that will allow you to shift super quick, react super quick, with a very strong contingency plan. In other words, you are not disrupting your operating model, you're not disrupting your sales, you're not disrupting anything that goes to the consumers if you are into the retail or consumer business. And this is where innovation can come into play, because through innovation, well, first of all, the innovative mindset of your people, that starts with that, that's one. Two, how do you leverage new technologies to allow you to do things faster, cheaper, with more agility than you used to? So you can imagine you have to apply labels because there is a new regulation and you have to do it super fast. Well, are you going to do it with 1,000 people, or are you going to do it with a new equipment or new technology? So resilience is addressing resilience is a combination of a lot of things, around people, process, and technology.
David?
Yeah, I think your start of your question is what's the link between resilience and sustainability, and I think I'm very clear on that. There is no resilience without sustainability. Why do I say that? It's because, look, Ukraine war. Actually, there is one thing we can thank Mr. Putin for, is to have accelerated the sustainability journey. Why? Because all of a sudden Europe started to get feared not to have gas supply. So the immediate action in Arla Foods was to invest in boilers that was using diesel, because that was the quick thing to do, which is super not good, and we are not proud of that, to ensure we have a contingency plan. But the next step was to double down on the investment on sustainability and source of alternative energy. Because we know that the future and the autonomy of Europe will not be to rely on gas from Russia or oil from Saudi. It will be through sustainable energy. That's just an example.
Yeah.
That for me is very clear that there is no resilience without sustainability. And I think there is no resilience and sustainability without new technologies as an enabler to achieve those challenges. So those three components are for me very clearly linked.
I mean, it's very interesting you use the word that digital as an enabler. So again, as part of the work we're looking at basically, maybe it's because of the B word, who knows, but the UK is looking at how it can use digitalization to create the future of its manufacturing ecosystem that enables the UK to be net zero by 2050, but also to be resilient and to also support a better, sort of happy and healthier workforce. But sometimes we think about, is it a digital future we're trying to create, or is digital that enabler to the future? And it's and I think I'm with you that digital technologies, IDTs, can help to provide that. And some work we've done would say that sometimes it's the adoption of the technology itself. So, for instance, the cow power, it's a new technology that you've developed to do something different. But actually, the other thing that we strongly identified was the role of digital to enable better supply chain integration. Because if you have supply chain integration end to end, then potentially you achieve your resilience and your sustainability goals. So we've got a couple of minutes left. So and you can choose who goes first. I'm just going to ask you a very simple question to end with. We've got a room full of a lot of scale-ups, a lot of startups, but also those that perhaps end-user organizations, big and small. What one piece of advice would you give to those organizations as they set out on their own journey to, I suppose, to support us as a world achieve a more sustainable and net zero future? Because in essence, we're an ecosystem, aren't we? We're all here to play our part.
Okay, so you want
one bit of advice of what we can do.
But to the startups or the scale-ups?
To everybody here.
To everybody. I just, this is why I put my last part of the presentation. I just feel it's time to wake up. Because tomorrow it will be too late. So it's just doing supply chain as we used to maybe 5-10 years ago, which is just receiving orders, matching orders, and so on, and being a kind of a execution body in a company, has shown its limit. COVID has shown that supply chain was an instrumental part of any company, that it's not a cost center, but it can become a competitive advantage. So my big advice to every leader in a company or startups and so on is just dare to change things and to wake up, because the world needs it.
Like that, Jamal?
Yeah, no, just build on that point. I think you have the power, because you have the technology and you're building the technology. From what I have seen, this morning, and what Martin has shared with us. So think about building, creating, developing new processes and new technologies that will reduce the time, the production times from one end to the other, that will create sustainability. You will use less water. You will spend less energy consumption. Think about, I think one of the presenters this morning was talking about container load optimization. So container load optimization is a massive. We still ship things, and we will continue to still ship things. But optimizing the load is massive, because if you can reduce for the same volume by 5, 10, 20% the number of containers used and put on a boat or put on an airplane, that contributes, of course, to the global agenda. And you have that power. You have that power. Use the technology. You are mastering, obviously, very well, to make a change and help us actually, get faster, better, and indeed, more sustainable.
Thank you. David, Jamal, it's been my huge pleasure to be with you on the stage this morning. Thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.